Okay, we're gonna take a couple of minutes more for people to join, and then we will start. Hoi Lara. Baja a la tierra, it's called. And I will share also the Spotify list because it's a collaborative list. So everybody can join, and it's like the idea that people put songs that are in the, that fit in the regenerative movement. So I will share that one now. And then you can all add the songs that you want to. Oh, wait. So I think it's a nice one. If everybody can put where they are in the chat, I think it's nice to see where everybody is located. And then we take 1 minute more, and then I think we're gonna start, and I will add people along the way. And we'll enter.
Contra la naturaleza y contra la humanidad como futuro. Civilización
a lot of places.
Sencillez, contra la sobriedad, contra todos los ciclos naturales, pero peor, civilización contra la libertad que supone tener tiempo para vivir.
Yeah, Nina, so you can add your own songs also to the Spotify list. But I will share it again, because sometimes if you come in later, you can see it. And then you can add songs yourself. Hi, Anna. Hi, Jana. Okay, and then I think we're going to start. Wow, from France as well.
Sería imperioso lograr consensos planetarios para desatar solidaridad hacia los más oprimidos.
So welcome everybody to this regenerative learning session. And yeah, we're really happy that Edo is here so early in the morning, because for him it's still morning in Chile. I think he got up at like 5 o'clock for us, so really grateful. I really want to welcome everybody in a little bit more elaborated way. So I would like to welcome people from all places, colors, genders, ages, abilities, and religions. I would like to welcome the voice of nature in this room. And I also would like to welcome our ancestors that we carry within us, and those that come 7 generations after us. Yeah, and so most of all, welcome to Edo, of course, that's gonna be the host of the session. And then, welcome to the regenerative learning session. We just had a wonderful 3-day event, and I'm really happy that it's not over yet and we can keep on learning together. So this session is part of a 10-year campaign where we make a collective effort to make the regenerative movement grow and flourish. And every first Friday of the month, we have another theme in the pillars of economic, social, ecological, regeneration, and spirituality. And today we're going to talk about regenerative entrepreneurship in service of communities with Edo of Mas Newen. And normally we have 1 hour where we first going to listen to Edo, and then we're going to open up to questions. But we can also stick around half an hour more for those who want to get a bit more deeper into the questions and have some extra time. So yeah, I really would love to give this virtual floor to Edo. And yeah, really curious to your story, Edo. So are you ready?
I'm ready. Yeah.
Ready?
Good morning. No, good day. Good afternoon. Hi to everybody. It's really amazing to see so many people come online and to see so many people interested in what we've been doing. And also, yeah, thank you, Laura and Regeneratie Coöperatie for this space and this moment. Very thankful for that. So yeah, I would like to start with talking a bit about what we've been doing for the last, I think it's almost a decade. I think we started in 2013. Vika, my partner, who's also in the room today, we started off by heading out to Chile with an idea that we wanted to start a regenerative farm or an organic farm. So when we first started going to Chile and when we first started going to our valley, we didn't quite understand well where we were physically and geographically. I mean, we knew we were in Chile, of course, and it was close to where my family comes from. Actually, well, my parents came in the 70s to the Netherlands. I was born in the Netherlands, but my family is from the central coastline in Chile, San Antonio, Matanzas. It's about a 2 hours drive from Santiago, the capital of Chile. And yeah, so we started looking for a small place. Here, this is the valley where we went to. It's called Horizontes del Mar. It's a small valley. It's about 1,820 hectares. There's five families living in there. When we arrived, well, there wasn't really much going on. There wasn't even a proper road. This end road was the only way to get in, and actually was very difficult also in the winter to get out. So, so this is the land that we found. It was very dry and very mostly just eucalyptus trees, degraded soil, lots of desertification happening.
Ada, 1 second before you continue. Can you do full screen? We get the question. Yeah, because I think somebody cannot see it. Like.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Let me see.
I don't know. Normally, if you put it on percent, but you're already in presenting mode, right?
I was already presenting, yeah.
So maybe then it's just like that.
I think it's like this, because you don't see the full picture.
F5. Oh, or font zegt share your screen again. So maybe if you stop sharing and.
Oh yeah, let's see if stop share.
Yeah, when you share your screen, of when you make your slideshow with PowerPoint, PowerPoint like makes a double screen, and then you need to choose the right one.
And this?
Same.
So
same?
if it's so like there is this button right below which is really right below on the toolbar, in the very side, in the very below, where you can click on that a little bit right with the dia forecaster. Yes, that one.
Like this?
Next to next to the minus sign. Yes, you can click on that to double check whether it's ascending.
Yeah.
There we are.
There we are.
Excellent.
Nice. Fons, thanks for that one.
I've already learned something new in this session. So yeah, we found this pretty degraded piece that had a lot of eucalyptus, and yeah, the first year and a half we actually lived in tents, and we were mostly busy with observing the land, just really trying to understand how the movements were going into the valley, like how the people were moving, what the neighbors were doing, figuring out how to approach this plot and what to do with it. So also during this time, we were going to a school, a regenerative and permaculture school in the south of Chile called El Manzano, that it actually doesn't exist anymore as a school. It used to be connected to the Gaia University. So we had a lot of influence coming in from the regenerative and permaculture movement that was already happening in Chile. I think the first sort of permaculture movement and agroecological movement started already in the beginning of the 80s in Chile, and was like an answer to the political dictatorship that was going on. There was a lot of people moving from the cities to rural communities. So in Chile, there was already a really good foundation when it comes to regeneration, and also a good foundation when it comes to learning about regeneration. So when we started off building our houses. I mean, Vic and I were fairly young when we started off, so we didn't have a huge NGO budget to go to Chile and build our houses the way that, you know, we just wanted. So we had to take a different approach, and we took an approach that is also very common in Chile, and not just Chile, in South America in general, and that's the approach of a minga. A minga is a space, a communal space where people get together, where they build together, or they work the land together. And it's always on the basis of reciprocity, or the basis of aini, or building community with each other. So yeah, that was very interesting, because yeah, we started learning how to build our houses. We started building our houses from scratch, basically. Here you can see what we have been doing. So this was the first cabana that we built, made out of wood. And then the last part, we started using an ancestral Andean technique called quincha, which basically is fermented mud, reed, and cow dung. It's a very nice process of making a very strong structure, and also an amazing process, because all of these materials, we were just looking for them in our own valley or very close. So this is how it started to look. This is a few years ago. Our land is on the valley itself is a small basin, and the back end of our land is wetlands. We're situated in an estuary called the Rapel River Estuary. On the left-hand side, you can see the blue is the estuary. And actually on the right-hand side, you can see an image, a satellite image that we've been researching with the University of Valparaiso. You can see how the basin is formed. And right in the middle, I don't know if you can see my cursor, but that's our land. So there's 4 water streams coming towards our land, which gave us a really good situation concerning agriculture. This is also the backside. So yeah, we had a couple of years building, and we had a couple of years of learning and understanding. And one thing that we really saw in our valley is that it's much more different than the valleys around us. We have a lot of relict forest, ancient forest. And so we started to think, you know, what can we do with this? And when we started doing the research on the forest at the same time, it was 2017 already, a huge wildfire started in Chile. It was about 518,174 hectares were burned in only a few weeks. So, and it came almost to our valley. Got really close. Was a huge, was a huge ecological crisis, actually. happening. And so when we were seeing this, we really started to think differently, even more so about our valley, because crazy thing, what we saw is when all these fires were happening around us, the moment that we got inside our own valley, we could feel the difference, that the temperature was much lower in our valley. And we didn't figure out yet how and why. Let's see. Yeah, that's me there up in the tree, cutting down trees. In the back end, you see this little building that was from one of our partners who are seaweed harvesters. Actually, right at that moment, we started also with our company just a few weeks ago, and we bought the year's amount of seaweed from these harvesters. And so when the fire came, and it was still there in the processing plant, the fire came all the way up to the plant. We almost lost all of our seaweed. So we were cutting down as quickly as we could all the eucalyptus trees around the seaweed plant. At the same time that all of these fires were happening, a company started to illegally log in our valley, in the native forest. And well, I was just telling you guys that we were just learning about this forest. We also had trap cameras inside the forest. And we started to see this little creature. This is the gato guiña, or the kotkot, which is the smallest leopard in the world. And it lives in our valley. And because of this little creature, we were able to stop this company that was logging inside of our forest and inside of our valley. This was the first study that we did. Here you can see the valley from above. These 3 red dots is where we had trap cameras positioned. And so we were able to take pictures of this little cat. It's an endangered species. The last census that they did was in, I think it was 2005, and there were less than 10,000. And the estimate is that there is less than 5,000 of these cats left. They're endemic, by the way, so they only live in Chile. Here you can see the valley again with a different lens. This is, so you can see the valley, and the next picture is our watershed. And so the top part is our valley, and the rest is the rest of the watershed. It's about 20,000 hectares. And the amazing thing is that in Chile, where there is huge desertification happening, still there is still a lot of water capturing going on inside of our water basin, which makes it very fertile where we are. This is the larger water basin. So if you look at this image, this is the red little dot, that's our valley. The heart shape sort of figure is our sub watershed, and then it blows up all the way to the Andes Mountains, to the Cordillera. Actually, in 1846, Darwin was also studying the same watershed as where we have our land. And it's very interesting because he found out that it's the oldest geological formation in Chile. It's 14 million years old. And so we also learned that the forest where we are and the cat that we see are remnants from a prehistoric forest. So it's all relict, meaning that it's like a memory bank of flora and fauna. So here, if you look here at the right-hand side, you can see this sort of drawn picture. That is actually the picture. That's what Darwin was drawing. And the next one is what we were drawing. We were figuring out how our bioregion was working, or how it's shaped. And it's almost the same shape as what Darwin saw, which was really funny because yeah, we were never, personally, I was never so much into Darwin, and just seeing that he was seeing the same watershed as we are doing, and he was seeing the same sort of cultural movement as we are doing. Yeah, just was really good to understand that there is a bioregion, and that it's made up of different subsheds, microsheds. Excuse me. So yeah, what we found out in all these years is that there is a huge problem in the world, and because of the way that Chile is made up geographically, it's very long, it's very thin, there's a lot of coastline, and a lot of desertification going on. So it was, for us, all these problems that are happening now, like biodiversity loss, climate change, inequality, pollution, all these things we were seeing more than just learning about it. We were really seeing what was going on, like living it every day. So that made us really think in a different way. So for us, it wasn't all theoretical. It was all really practical, what we were seeing. So yeah, our idea was, and is still, is that we need a holistic solution. So we believe that we need an integrated approach to tackle the challenges in our time, and that we need a regenerative blue economy on the basis of reciprocity in order to create well-being, or buen vivir, which is buen vivir, good living, is a concept that has been around for thousands of years in South America. I mean, before the Spanish conquerors came, there was already a concept of an economy, and already a concept of a continent. There was a name for South America. It was called Abya, and there was already inserted an economy of reciprocity. And so there's nothing new that we're seeing. Actually, it's something very old that we are tapping into. And what's very interesting is that all these old cultures, all these old economies, they have a focus, and the focus is not necessarily making more wealth, but the focus of these specific economies is creating more life, is being at surface of our surroundings. And so, and the way that they measure those is on the basis of a watershed. So most communities, most indigenous communities in South America, their territories, they measure them through water basins, from river to river, from hill to hill. And so that's not a new concept, that what we're looking at. So yeah, our goal is to weave regenerative value change to the practice of reciprocity and good living, so that everyone benefits, gains, and grows symbiotically. So yeah, for us, I mean, we do understand that that growing crops, reforesting is very important, but we also feel that it is secondary. For us, there is, so in order to get green, first we need to have blue. We need to have systems that are able to harvest water. We need systems that are able to draw down water before we start growing. And so, and also we need systems where those concepts are inserted into the community. Concepts like resilience, reciprocity, ecosystemic dignity is a concept that we've been talking with a lot of people about in Chile. So ecosystemic dignity also means that what you see here, that there's a lot of extractivism going on at a scale that most people in Europe maybe haven't seen yet. But You know, central Chile used to be a huge Valdivian rainforest only 100 years ago. So within 4 generations, 80% of that forest has been cut down and monocultures have been replaced. And so when you ride around Chile, you see all this barren land with these crazy monoculture, monostructures, and there is no dignity in that for an ecosystem. You look at that and it's not beautiful. There's no beauty in that. So the topic of ecosystemic dignity also means like looking at nature and understanding that things not only need to be regenerated, but also need to be re-beautified. So for us also, it's really important to consider all the things that, you know, that aren't easy valued and aren't easy seen. So we really look for all these synergies. We look for qualities of life, for tradition, for innovation, for memories. And we think that all these things are part of an economy, of a culture. So yeah, going back to watersheds and going back to design. So we started looking inside of our watershed. You can see this green circle, that's our valley. And all these number 1, number 2, these are all people that we work with that are already working regeneration. And also working regeneration on a pretty big scale. So we started looking inside our watershed, like who are the regenerative actors? Who are the people that are making community? Who are the people that are reforesting? Who are the people that are working with seaweed? And how can we start working with them together? And how can we create this collaboration and make sure that it moves into one direction? So, like I just mentioned, when we started off, one of the first things that we started looking at are the seaweed harvesters. This is a group of women that they work in an area that's about 50 kilometers long on the coast, and they've been harvesting seaweed for a very long time. I think before the Spaniards came, there were Lafkenche Mapuche people working there, also working seaweed. And this tradition continued basically. And what's very interesting is that the area where we're at is some of the best seaweed in Chile. Like there is very little pollution. In the south of Chile, there's a lot of pollution because of factories that they have made near the watersheds or in the river basins or like on the beach that are discharging a lot of chemicals into the water, and those are being absorbed by the seaweed. So a lot of the seaweed in the south of Chile are very polluted. And in the area where we are, there are no factories, there is no big industry, there are no big cities. So we have a very high premium seaweed production. And so we started to think, okay, how can we, it's very nutritious, highly nutritious. So we started working with these women and see how we could make products that are truly valued. So, you know, normally in Chile, for a kilo of seaweed, people pay 200 cents, pesos, which is nothing. And so you need a lot of volume to make some money with that. And so we were looking at this and we were like, no, we believe that we need to put this in a higher, like in a better market. So our idea was, let's take it to the Netherlands. If they're not appreciating this type of nutrition in Chile, then maybe we can bring it to the Netherlands and maybe we can get into a niche market, and maybe then at least we can get some economy going. So yeah, we started to design packaging. This packaging is biodegradable. This is in 2017, by the way, when we started doing this. So at the end, we weren't able to take this to Chile because in Chile, excuse me, to the Netherlands, because in the Netherlands, we weren't allowed to sell this because it's a novelty food. And so even though people eat seaweed, these specific types of seaweed are still new to the Netherlands or to Europe. So we weren't allowed to sell this on the market as a source of nutrition. But it did give us a lot of insight on how to work with cooperatives and how to work with the seaweed harvesters. And also we learned a lot about packaging and the plastic industry. So it was a really, really interesting learning curve for us. At the moment, we're still working with them. We're actually now at a point that we're co-designing how to start to cultivate them in our bay. And not just for food, but really to get like the functional components out of the seaweed. So in order to get the antioxidants, to get the proteins, the fibers. And so parts of these functional components, we're looking for them to use them as nutraceuticals, so as nutrition, but another part also to make biodegradable plastic or packaging. So the second thing that we started to make and produce are these cosmetics, which are shampoos and conditioner and body wash that are fermented. So basically it's fermented plant extracts, and through the fermentation, we can get also functional components from plants, functional components like saponins. So you can use this as a cosmetics. It lathers really well, it foams really well. It has a pretty high performance. And the same thing, when we started moving the seaweed, we also started thinking about the packaging of our bottles. So I think it was 2015 already that we started to research the packaging for this product. And it took us quite some time to find recycled PET. In that time, nobody was producing recycled PET. It was very difficult to find proper packaging. And thankfully, we did find it. We got help from Carolie Buitenhuis, from Green Serendipity. And I think we were the first ones to use this in this way. To add recycled PET to the product, and we are still using this actually. Although at this point we are also making refill stations, and we are always looking for new packaging. So if at a moment we find something better than this recycled PET, then for sure we're gonna use it. Also, what we're looking now for is to produce the ground materials for these products in the Netherlands for the European market. So, and we are also looking to produce the ground materials more in Chile for the South American market, because we're also understanding, I mean, even though we started off quite a few years ago when we started off importing and exporting, from the beginning, we already understood that that wasn't going to be the future, not for us, and also not the future of producing or regeneration. So from the beginning, we were already planning and thinking and researching on how to produce these products in the Netherlands so that we don't need to import and export so much. And so we were always thinking in terms of degrowth. Our idea was never to create a company that grows huge or becomes really big, but the idea is always to develop more quality. So in developing quality, we were always and still looking to the import and export part, the logistics part. And so we are also really understanding now that, you know, in the Netherlands, like all the things that we saw in Chile happening, desertification, drought, all these things, we already knew that they were going to happen in the Netherlands, that there was going to be a problem in production. And it's very interesting for us to see that these things are now becoming relevant. And we're also very happy that we started off quite early looking for these solutions in production in the Netherlands. So yeah, designing regenerative business models. I mean, our company is purpose-driven. That means that regenerative self-care that takes care of the microbiome of your body, the planet, and its living cultures. Our products are probiotic, so they're fermented and they work directly with the microbiome of your body. But they're also made in such a way that if you put our products onto the soil, it becomes like a fertilizer, basically. There's no chemical components. It's just plant extracts. It's just basically it's just nutrition. We also understand that regeneration is an ever-evolving process of syntropy and requires constant change and adaptation. So for us, Chile was the school, was a learning place. It still is. But we also understand that we have to evolve and adapt constantly. At this point and at this rate that things are changing within nature, we understand that we have to be very resilient and that we have to incorporate change into our system. So our mission is also long-term, and it will take more than a lifetime to accomplish. Therefore, choices that we make have to be made through an intergenerational perspective. The focus is future generations. So all the choices that we made, everything on the land, to our company, to our foundation, they're always thinking in generations to come. So a lot of the things that we do don't have a direct effect in the now, but they have an effect in the future. And that's kind of the way that we like to design our company and our system. So we understand that by doing that, we have to weave symbiotic relations with ourselves, with our surroundings, with the people that we work with the cooperatives that we work with. And they always have to have the quality of reciprocity, or INI, and it always has to have mutual benefits. We're always looking for win-win-win. It has to be good for us, it has to be good for the people that work with us, and it has to be good for our surroundings or nature. So our vision is to build blue biocultural corridors in service of life. It has to be built bottom up, so it has to be built from the soil up. We have to respect local cultures and ecosystemic dignity. It has to be biodiverse. It has to incorporate regenerative agriculture and mariculture. Mariculture is a big part of the equation that we feel that still within the regenerative movement, it's something that has been left out sometimes too much. Like I said in the beginning, there is no green without blue. So we have to incorporate rivers, we have to incorporate the ocean. And also what we understand and we want to do, we really want to cultivate true valued economies. So economies that incorporate this quality of mutual benefits. And at the same time, by doing that, what we really think is important is that we have knowledge exchange. We've been really looking at innovation. We've been looking at packaging and how to produce products, how to make them. And we are always exchanging our knowledge with the people that we work with, because at the end of the day, what we want to get to is that people become empowered with new knowledge and that they can start producing these products, and that hopefully they make their own company and they start doing the same thing. They start to reproduce the systems that we are doing, or at least parts of it. So it says work smart, choose symbiotic. What we mean by that is that is when we make a decision, or we look for a crop, that, for instance, quinoa. In the Netherlands, a lot of people eat quinoa, and in the world, a lot of people are starting to eat a lot of quinoa. And most of the people just know that that is the seed and the grain. But actually, the plant has different functions and has different qualities. From the stem, you can make plastic. From the seed, you can get proteins. From the seed, you can get fatty acids like omega-6, omega-9. From the bran, you can take saponins. And then, so what we mean with choose symbiotic is we need to choose crops that has multiple returns. It has to be good for the soil. It has to be good for the economy. It has to be good for innovation. It has to be good for nutrition. Those are the terms of measurements that we use. So we're not interested that much in tomatoes or lettuce. We're really looking for crops that have high quality. So yeah, what we're doing in Chile is we are creating value chains that are based on watersheds, that are based on local economies. And when you start doing that, then you start to see that they're all connected. And then when you see that they're all connected, you can see them as a corridor. So for instance, our valley is in the central part of Chile, but we also work together with a Mapuche community in the southern part. And we're both at the coast, and we both have similar sort of biological standards. And so our goal now, our approach is from our valley to create systems that reach out all the way to Lago Buri, to the south of Chile. And then we start looking next to the coastline, it's this corridor, and we start to see a blue corridor. And when we start to connect all the producers in that corridor, then we start to create a blue regenerative economy. And so basically what we're looking at is to create all these, weave these regenerative value chains that are focusing on production of water, production of high quality food and plants, reforestation, and also are producing un buen vivir, good living. So qualities of a blue regenerative economy, we think we have to make sure that the entire value chain that is created is fully circular, autonomous, and in service of the regeneration of watersheds, water cycles, and ecosystems. It has to be a community-supported regenerative mariculture and agriculture to make sure that rural and rural coastal peoples and future generations can benefit from the fruits of our collective labor. We need autonomous bioregional commons, organizing communities as a common at the level of watershed management, so that we can ensure self-determined decision-making within bioregions. And we follow human skill development and degrowth principles, putting ecological and human needs in front rather than monetary growth. So for us, these are kind of the basis that we're looking for when we do our company, when we work with the people in our region. And also, this is also the focus of our foundation. So this is a bit in short how it works. So circular in the sense that, yeah, we can produce from the forest. We work with small farmers and indigenous communities producing quinoa, maqui, matico, boldo. Then these ground materials, we take them to a lab, and in the lab we can extract the functioning components and make products out of it, and up the value also. Like, especially in South America, a lot of people produce, they only produce, and then they get not so much for their ground material. So once you start putting all these farmers and producers as part of the value chain, then you can start giving true valued prices to these communities and boost the economies. And so when you make products out of these functioning components, then you get high valued products. And these high valued products have, of course, a much higher margin. And so we use the profits from that margin, we put that in our foundation. And with the foundation, we go to the communities that we work with, and we do a knowledge exchange, or we do a reinvestment, or anything that we can do to empower these communities that are working with us. So we do that constantly. So then it starts to become a regenerative value chain, basically. So here on the right-hand side, you can see a few of the allies and partners that we're working with. There is, of course, our own foundation, and we have the Algueros. We have Maple Micro Development. We've been working with the Mapuche Lafkenche community. They are our close partners here in the south of Chile. We've been working with the university, the Catholic University of Valparaiso, and also with Renature and Laikipia in Kenya. So yeah, that was in short and in brief our learning and our systems.
Really nice, Edo. I already heard a lot of it, but now like the whole story is super inspiring and well thought through. I don't know, it's like really, I really like it. And I think it's because maybe some people have to leave in 10 minutes. So I think it's good to open up questions for the people that had to leave. And then the other one that can stick around, then we can take some more time to get a bit deeper. But I think Deborah already had a question, and Deborah, I don't know if you're there, but maybe do you feel that one is already answered, or do you want to know a bit more about it? Because your question was, how do they measure economy on a watershed scale? So more about
I would still like to know some more about it if it's possible, because you already mentioned briefly that they measure like the state of the economy in like on the watershed basis, and I was wondering how they do that, like if they use any indicators or if they observe. Yeah.
So yeah, good question. So first of all, I try to be very brief. Normally this talk is much longer, and I go much more in depth, but Laura asked me to be very brief, so I try to go as complete as possible through the slides. And yeah, how do we measure that? So yeah, one, of course, a very important way of measuring is observing, is seeing really what's happening at a direct level, what is going on. So on our land, for instance, the first picture that you saw, it's very dry. It was completely desertified. And now, after doing a couple of years of dry farming, so really like looking at certain points in the year to sow and to plant trees or plant crops, now we're coming at a point that even in the summer, our fields are starting to stay green. So that's already a level of measurement that we're seeing. So within 5 years, from going from a very barren land to actually a place where without irrigation, we're having fruits, we're seeing green, We're seeing water retention. So that's a big way of measuring, like understanding that the techniques that we're applying, that they're really working. Another way of measuring is, okay, let me see. I'm gonna open up some other maps that we have, but we have been doing measurement with satellites. So we've been measuring the water retention in our whole watershed so we're taking pictures from 2013 all the way till now. So we can really see what's been going on. And what we can see in our valley is that our valley has been pretty stable, actually, because of its position next to the coast. But we can see that the surrounding parts are really drying up. And next to that measurement, we put a picture of the amount of vegetational loss that we had in the larger watershed. And so you can see this correlation of water loss and you can see this correlation of vegetation loss. So a way of measuring the other way is when you start reforesting and replanting, you can see the same thing. You can see that vegetation is coming back, and you can measure that, hopefully, if you do it well, that water retention is also coming back. And if anybody has a question in the meanwhile, I'm going to look for these maps, and when I have them, I'll share them.
Thank you for the for the answer. I was wondering, do you, for example, you named like the water retention. Do you really measure these in like a scientific way, or do you just observe an increase in water retention because the soil feels more wet or because the plants are growing better?
I mean, personally, I observe mostly. It's because I'm working directly with the land. But we are now working with the faculty of geography of the Universidad Católica, and they are really doing from spectral observation to they're now getting soil samples. They're really going scientific about it.
If there are no additional questions in the chat, Eder, thank you very much for your presentation. I really see how you're using the power of like bioprocessing to really get most of the values out of the plants, but also retaining it back to your social and ecological ecosystem. I was wondering, have also grown up in the Netherlands, I don't know about the background of Vika, but what do you think is the cool thing about the hybrid Chilean Dutch culture that contributed to your success, your journey, and the success of your organization?
That's a pretty cool question. So how this hybrid sort of culture that we have, well, yeah, I think it was pretty key, actually, because, well, my parents, they were political refugees, first of all. So growing up in the Netherlands, and I grew up I grew up in a very small village up north from Alkmaar, next to Bergen, called Koedijk, which is very rural. So for me, growing up there was already very important. I think that really was the basis of I've always loved agriculture, and I always even I think one of my first jobs was bollepellen. So so that was a pretty direct influence, Dutch influence. And at the same time, in our house, we were talking about a lot of social, political stuff, neoliberalism. We were talking about, like, from a young age, I already understood what extractivism was. There were so there was a lot of interesting literature in our house that I was already going through. So I think that was a big part of the foundation of at least on a personal level, what I've been doing. Vika, of course, had a different background, but town is really nice. My father-in-law is also there. I think Vika's background is more from her family also, from her father. So when it comes to looking at areas or looking at ecosystems, I think the other interesting hybrid thing that we see, or cultural sort of mix that we see, is that Chile is like the world in a very reduced place. It's very small. It has the same amount of people as in the Netherlands. So it's very easy to compare things within Chile with the Netherlands when it comes to market and when it comes to market movement. But then geographically, it's completely different, of course. But also, I mean, Chile has been dealing with decertifications for decades now. So we were seeing in Chile, you can see there what's about to happen in a lot of other places in the Netherlands or in Europe. So we could always do this cross check. And also because we would be in Chile and then go to the Netherlands, it started to become very evident to us that things were changing on an ecological level. We were already seeing that the Netherlands was drying up a few years ago, and then we would say it to people, and they were like, "No, impossible! It's not happening." But yeah, we could see what was going on with the forest, and we could actually measure it because we learned that in Chile. So it's always been a really nice dynamic, moving back and forth. Yeah.
Thanks so much. Just in between, like if people have to leave at 1:30, we will share the recording so you can see like the other questions or know a bit more. And
I think
we need to wait.
I think, yeah.
and the 5th of August we have. What do you grow on the land? So I already saw quinoa, I think.
Yeah, I mean, so first we had monoculture eucalyptus, and then so we took away a big part of the eucalyptus trees, and then we ended up with a plot of land that was not only degraded, but it was also it became acid and it became very difficult to grow anything on it. So for the last 3 years, we've been mostly working on the soil structure. Last year I sowed hafer, oats.
Oats, yeah.
And this year next week I'm cutting down the oats that grew. I'm cutting them down. So I'm not tilling, I'm just cutting them down. And then I'm gonna sow quinoa, amaranto, oats, and flowers. So that's just to restore the soil and the soil structure. It's about 1 hectare. And in between, there's a lot of native trees that we've been really sort of putting energy into them, giving them nutrition, giving them, better soil, putting mulch around it. And from these trees, I've been taking samples and doing tests with different types of berries to see if there's berries from our own ecosystem that we can plant and without irrigation, letting them grow. So our land is mostly like a laboratory, more than at this point production. Although at this point, I'm understanding what kind of crops we need in order to make it very productive. And so I want to start growing white strawberry. And white strawberry is from our own area. It was the basis to create the strawberry that most of the people eat. It's sort of the mother berry, basically. And another thing, that we really want to produce on our land is more quinoa. We did it once, but then we understood that the soil wasn't good enough. So then I started to work on the soil structure, and I think hopefully next year we can do first quinoa and amaranto on a bigger scale.
Really nice. Is there somebody else that has a question? You can do the raised hand function or raise your hand or put your question in the chat. Alexandra?
Yeah, you shared a lot of crops that were successful, but were there also examples of crops that were not so successful or didn't interact properly with the rest of the crops? I'm very curious.
Oh yeah, I mean, most of the things that we tried weren't successful, basically. And that's not just the crops. I mean, yeah, like I just said, I tried to go as sort of concise as possible through the slideshows, but yeah, we've had a lot of downs in the beginning. Like we didn't have any water, we never built any houses, we didn't we didn't have a lot of experience, so we had to learn by mistakes, and so we had to learn by a lot of mistakes also concerning agriculture. If with what I know now, I would have never taken that all these eucalyptus trees away. Like I would have made syntropic systems out of it. Like
Yeah.
So, but that's where we are now. And so it also, for me, it feels like we've done full circle with mistakes. And for me, where we're now is that each time that I go to our land now, I start to become more precise and know what to do. But that's because of all the things that went wrong. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. I think it's really about seeing it as an experiment where there's room for mistakes as well, because there will always be mistakes. But it's really inspiring to see that you had that, that you took the space to really try things out. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and this little question, like what are the main things in your products, like in the shampoos, in the body shop? What is like your main ingredients?
So in the body wash, the main ingredient is saponin. So we look for plants that have saponin inside. So actually, quinoa is one of these crops. With the current products don't have quinoa, but when we understood how to make it, then we started looking for, okay, can we find crops that we can use in the Netherlands and in Chile so that we can make one formulation? And so this is what we mean with symbiotic. Like, is there a crop that has this specific component that we could use on both sides? And if we can use it on both sides, does it have the same impact? And so we're finding out that it does, because quinoa is very resilient, especially looking at, climate change. It's a very resilient plant. So yeah, then we see, okay, so we want to produce quinoa because it has the saponin, and the saponin for us is very important. But for the quinoa producer, the brand where the saponin is a discard. Mm-hmm. So then already you're seeing, so we start to add value with it. So we really look for these functional components. So our products have saponins, antioxidants, proteins. So we think in those terms more than just it has to smell nice, or it has to be, I don't know. It has
to close the loop as well, kind of. Yeah.
Sorry?
To close the loop, like to use.
Yeah. We're always thinking in those terms, but we're always thinking in terms of how to start loops and how to close them and how to keep them going. Basically, that's that's our thought process.
Yeah, great job. Thanks for sharing.
You're welcome.
Is there somebody else that has a question? Or Annette, is that a question or just a thumbs up? Thumbs up. Okay, nice. Also a thumbs up. Okay. Then maybe I have a question, because I'm super curious to a lot of things, but like the concept of dry farming, Edo, like, of course, it's like not applying irrigation, but is there some other things you have to look at? It's like sowing at the right time, what do you have to take into account if you want to start a dry farm? Because that's also a little bit, interest in this case.
So I think on your land, there's something very valuable to do dry farming. You guys have old vine stocks, and I guess they're very old, and so they are already adapted to the soil. They have very, very long roots, most likely, so they don't need irrigation. And so if you would take the stems from these vine, you can reproduce them, and they already have inserted this memory of not needing irrigation with the soil where you are at. So you need a crop like that. You need a crop that is already used to their surroundings, used to the soil, and is already very sturdy. So yeah, grapes, vines have that. Quinoa has that. I mean, there's in the Netherlands, there's also dry farming, like the granen, and a lot of annuals have those qualities. But there are different plants like vines that or grapes that also have these dry farm qualities. It comes down to understanding when the rain seasons are. So in our case, now in Chile it's rain season, so this is the moment to do all your agricultural work, basically. So also most of our friends at this point, they're all working the land, they're all working the soil. Like, this is the moment. And when it's full moon, it's even more the moment to do so. So yeah, it comes down to become very sensitive to the right timing. And another thing that you really need with dry farming is you need much more patience. So patience is a big part of the equation.
You mean because of slow growth, or do you mean?
Yeah, because of slow growth, and also because in our case we only have one brief moment in the year that we can do it. And so, well, back to Alexandra, no, what's your name, who asked about what mistakes. So many times we sowed at the wrong moment, and then you have a year nothing, and then you're looking at this barren land and you see a lot of dust going up, and then it's like, huge mistake. And then you have to have a lot of patience for the next year when it's raining. So yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
Patience and timing.
Nice. Is there somebody else that has a question? Or just want to know something or a detail? Otherwise, I just continue because I have a lot of questions, but then we stay. Or is there something in the chat? Because I saw. Oh yeah, sorghum is dry farming. Coming crop and that one I don't know. Annette, can you specify? I would like to process your projects. Oh, no, kijk. She wants
I
to.
learned about sorghum being introduced in the Netherlands because it's very dry resilient, drought resilient, and it is also a feed crop, can take the place of maize. So we have just been sowing it here in our garden and see how it will work. Would that be an example of dry farming?
I mean, I guess if they only use rainwater to do it, then then we're talking about dry farming. Yeah. I have to also say, in sort of the natural wine world, dry farming is something that is sort of looked at, and there sometimes when they make a vineyard, the first 5 years you do have to give them water, but you give them a little bit, and as the years go by, you give them less water to the point that you stop giving them water. So there are these transitions also happening.
Okay, thanks.
Nice. Is there here? Okay, I see a question. Oh. what kind of measurement tool do you use to collect your data and keep overview of all the indicators that you measure?
So this is what we're doing with the university, and we're actually setting up a system now, which is setting up a system of doing satellite measurement, soil measurement, pictures of fauna, and also we're making a memory bank of all the plants and going to the same places and recording them, taking pictures of them, and seeing how it changes, how it evolves in time. But I do have to say that I'm not looking so much to that part. That's what the university is doing more with us.
Well, thanks.
And Edo, what is your dream for the farm? Like if you would say, okay, I don't know, 10 or 20 years ahead, on the land that you have now, you made like a circle of mistakes. Now you start to grow quinoa and flowers and mijo, I think. But like, what is your vision in 10 years?
So the vision for the farm is that the farm becomes a cooperative that is in service of the bioregion. Meaning that what we want to do is we want to set up a processing plant on the farm and put the processing plant in service for all the producers in our bioregion, so that it becomes more of a service tool than a personal farm.
Nice. Really nice. And is there, oh, sorry, yeah?
So, because the things that we're seeing is that, you know, when people produce and they don't have a way of developing products with their ground material, then the economy stays rather low for them. So if you can have a place where everybody from the bioregion can come together and process whatever they are producing on the land, it's just going to generate a stronger economy, and it's going to generate, you know, stronger products. So we believe that if we put our land in service to that, then I think that is our dream. More so than producing on our land, it's more giving the service to the people in the bioregion.
Nice. That sounds really, really beautiful. Let me see, because I see that Anishya, you raised your hands. Do you want to unmute yourself to ask your question? Because now you're frozen. Are you there? Okay, maybe she will come back in a moment. Oh yeah, there you are.
Anishya.
Anishya. Oh, I think the internet was not so stable. Oh, there she comes again. Anishya, are you there?
Yeah, I just came back.
Perfect.
Internet
Hi,
stopped
Anishya.
for a moment. Hoi, Edo.
Nice to see you here.
Likewise. I was wondering how you, if you see other brands, or like how you see that the market is moving. So you said that a few years ago when you started with recycled PET, that you were really the first. You were still pioneering, but
Maybe you can interpret it, the rest of the question. I think, yeah, how the market is developing. Yeah.
Always challenging some with the internet.
I'm wondering, like, okay.
Yeah, are you there again? Yeah. So the last part of the question we could not hear. You were asking about how the market was developing, like they were the first ones, and then what was the second half of the question?
Yeah, if you feel that the regenerative brands, if they're gaining traction, like how you look at it.
Oh, yeah. For me, also Chile then is a good example. From what I'm seeing in Chile, what we've been seeing for the last couple of years is that there's a lot of traction going on. If I compare the market from even the producing market, producers and CSA and all these things, then in Chile it's blown up. There's so much going on here. There's so much small brands that have understood regeneration and that are working everything from the way that they're producing to what they're producing, the packaging to the marketing. They're really becoming good at it. And so for us, Chile is always like an example, like, oh, how cool would it be to bring this to the Netherlands? So yeah, we see that there is a traction going on. And I also see in the Netherlands that there's traction going on. When we started talking with Wieke about regeneration, I mean, even 5 years ago, there weren't so many people into it or understanding it or hearing about it. And if we look now, then we have a Regeneratie Coöperatie that are organizing things, and there's festivals going on, and there's more and more brands popping up like Wilderland that are doing really, really amazing things. For Weekendai, actually, one of the products that we really that was always inspiring to us from the beginning was Yoni. I don't know if any one of you knows Yoni, but we thought it was amazing. Like, of course, if you're gonna make tampons, why use plastic? Why use chemicals? It can be organic. It can be done in a proper way. It's just decisions. So when we started seeing that I think Yoni has always been a very good example to us. It's also very nice that we've now started to collaborating with Marielle, who actually did Yoni. So for us, we're also coming full circle with that. But yeah, I think there's a lot of traction now happening. I do think that I do think that it needs to be broader. But yeah, maybe with you, Annika.
I hope so. I hope so.
Yeah.
Thanks.
And do you, one question, Ada, what are the challenges also in an economical aspect of a regenerative enterprise? Because I think you have to make the right decisions, but sometimes maybe you can not, because it's just not possible. You know, you have to make this, decisions on, okay, or we can continue economically, or and we cannot do the other thing that we would love to do. Do you see these kind of decisions, or is it always possible? Every day, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's challenging. It's very challenging because so for us from the beginning, like accumulating money wasn't the thing. So we didn't start off as a normal company that is like very much for profit in a monetary way. I mean, we're also for profit, but we look at different measurements. So for us, having a good relationship with our neighbors or producers is already one profit. Having good packaging is also already one profit, but all these profits in the end cost. And they cost for the company. So yeah, you have to make very complex decisions sometimes. I think the biggest challenge is funding. Just having enough cash flow, having enough funding to really do what you want to do. Maybe hopefully there's people now starting off that have a fairly big budget and they can get really far from the get-go. But in our case, we started off with 0, so we really had to find our way to get everything going. But that was also, I think, our strength, because we started off really, really small. When we started off selling our shampoo, we started out selling our shampoo from a bottle and just pumping out milliliters on a market and trying to sort of explain what fermented cosmetics and regeneration and microbiome was. I think the first year we made about 500 euros. I think that was it. So the biggest challenge in that was also, I think, again, patience. Like, just, you know, we always approached our company and our endeavor as cultivating. So when you're used to dry farming, then then you're incorporating patience into what you're doing. So yeah, biggest challenge is cash flow, patience, and staying independent.
And do you feel that you can get like with this kind of businesses, get investors on board that want like have a return of investments in a way, or do you always need idealistic people that say, okay, I don't care about, I don't know, getting some interest or whatever? Do you feel like it's possible in the normal market get this kind of like enterprises going, or?
So we've had a few times that people were interested in investing, and that we had like these NGOs or more investment companies that were like really interested in what we were doing, or so we thought. And then at the end of the day, it's also just about return of investment, and it's about how can I get my return back as quickly as possible. So at the end of the day, we've always said no to these things, which also made us stronger. Like, each time that we really needed something, then, you know, we had these companies coming in, and then it was always like, it doesn't really resonate with what we're doing. So we just decided to then take steps back in our company. So we always, to grow, we always degrowth, basically. We always went slower in order to grow. And we never really accepted these types of investments that were just focusing on the return. And my wish, my dream is that we stay like this, that we can stay independent. I think we're really strong. You know, we think it's really strong to have your own, important to have your own sovereignty and autonomy as a bioregion, but we think we need that also as a company, as farmers, as entrepreneurs, but mostly as people. So and what we're doing is also part of our own dreams and visions. So we don't want to sell out what we've been doing for all these years. So yeah, I think biggest challenge is staying true to yourself and having a good cash flow.
And bootstrapping through, no, in a way.
Yeah.
Nice. Really nice. Is there? Oh yeah.
No, I want to say also, when you start off with nothing, like, and you start developing, and then at the end, like, you see everything that you've done, then even though you're not at the point where you thought you were going to be, at the end, you see that you have accomplished already a lot of things. And so you start nurturing that, like, become the custodian of your own dream. So I think that's really important, like, just really staying close to your dreams and close to your vision. So yeah.
Nice. Is there somebody, because otherwise I think we're also going to the end. I thought it was also like, if you could say something also now to the camera in a way, because we record this one and a lot of people will look at it. Because I feel our movement is all about also making the first step, you know, towards this dream that you guys already, or you already implemented 10 years ago. And some people are right at this point that want to make this like step to something like this, like, yeah, realizing their regenerative dream and contributing to communities and nature. like, how do you make this first step? What would you say to all those young people? Like, if you see yourself 10 years ago, what gave you like this push to do it?
Oh, so the push to do it, I think we had nothing to lose, basically. Like we had a dream and a vision of a much more like harmonious planet. So that's always been sort of our light in the tunnel. It's trying to see this more harmonious state of the world. So and so when we thought, if that's the thing that we want to get to, then the first step is obvious that we're going to have to make it, and then just go for it. We like, I think we started off having no fear. We just went for it, and understanding that there's really nothing that we could lose. The only thing from the beginning, Vika and I always said that whatever was going to happen, we were going to learn a lot about it, so that we were going to gain something out of it anyway. So I think it's that. I think it's not being afraid of walking and falling and getting up again and continuing.
Thanks so much. I think that really helps a lot of us to remind to ourselves. Yeah. So then I think if everybody is ready to round up, I think I would like to have maybe people can throw their cameras open and their sound open, give a big applause to Edo and Vika, of course, because she's there as well. It's a common effort. So I would really, really, really like a really big applause for your really beautiful work. So inspiring. I mean, come on. Yeah. Really, really inspiring. You did it. You're still doing it. You're here. And yeah, I think being that first, not the first one, of course, there were a lot of people there already, but 10 years ago, I mean, now people getting into regeneration, but 10 years ago that was really, really challenging. So really courage, a lot of courage there. Really appreciate
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you. I have to say, it's Vika and I, we started off doing this, but there has been a lot of people involved with us also. It's been really a collaborative journey and a communal journey. I'm also very happy to see Anna here. She's also part of our team. So, hi, Anna.
Hi. Also, thank you to Anna.
She's been a very big support to us, and but yeah, I think that's it. Also, we need to. I think we need to really collaborate with each other, and I think also we need to understand that we don't know everything, so we're going to make a lot of mistakes.
Yeah, and learn from each other's mistakes. So I think that's also
exactly
really nice about these sessions, that we can, really learn from each other, and maybe we can learn from your mistakes. So our cycle is going to be a little bit smaller, maybe, hopefully, and then over
hopefully,
that's the idea. The next one again. Yeah. So thanks so much. The next regenerative learning session is going to be on the 5th of August, and we have a lot of we have some really cool people in the koker. How do you say it in English? And they're still not confirmed, but we will confirm it soon, and we really hope you're all there so that we can continue learning together. And we're also having a lot of other activities going on. You can find them on regeneratie.org. And also, Edo, do you want to share the website here in the chat so people can also look a bit more if they want to see some more info?
There it is. I put it in the chat.
It's perfect.
masnewen.com.
And then
thank you very much. Also,
thanks so much. And we will share the recording so you can look at backs if you want to remember some stuff. And Edo, really hope to see you soon. And Vika here on the farm. Really looking forward to it.
Yes, looking forward. Looking forward to seeing you there. Yes.
Have a really good Friday afternoon, everybody. And goodbye. See you next time.
Bye-bye.
Hasta pronto.
Bye.
Pronto. Hasta la próxima. Ciao. Nice.